Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
I'm Catherine White, your host of the weekly Friday Power Lunch, and we are the show bringing you the guests, the issues, and the action all in one room because we amplify the voice of the grassroots to get things done, make politics fun. And so let's get it started today. So great to see everybody. It is April 29th, 2022, and welcome to the Friday Power Lunch. I would love to get things started by introducing our great guest lineup today. So I am so excited to step things up off with Global Shout, the executive director and founder, Dr. Ali Karim. Hello. You could unmute yourself. Say hello. How are you doing?
Hey, Catherine. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's great to be here. Thank you for having me and us and all of us.
I'm very excited. I'm sure you're excited. I bet your bags are packed. I think you're leaving tomorrow for Ukraine. Is that right?
Soon. Not tomorrow, but in the next week or so, I will be headed over there. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. Why don't we bring up that your colleague that works with you, Wida Saber. Hello, Wida. So great to meet you. And how are you doing today?
Hi, Katrine, and hello, everybody, especially Ali Karim.
Yes, great to see you. You're the Afghan Girls School Food Assistant Project. You head that up. We'll be talking to you about that later. But you just have such a great resume on women's rights and that background. So we're so excited you're here today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. All right, next up, I think we may have the next up guest because we are going to talk about a group of people of House delegates stepping up to make change, the Asian American and Pacific Islander Caucus. I think Kathy Tran may have popped into the room. Who do we have in the room today, Robin?
Well, here we go. Kathy Tran just came in, so let me bring Kathy Tran on to say hello. Oh, and of course, we got one of the cuties with her.
Yes. Hello, Kathy. Great to see you. Who do you have with you? Is that Warren?
This is Warren. He's super excited and keeps pointing at our little phone. Am I the only one on right now?
I think so. We're waiting. So we're glad you're going to be here today. So I think Suhas Subramanian is coming and also Irene Shin. So we would just want to welcome, we're just kicking it off today and we'll do your segment. Fennell Norton's going to be interviewing you.
Oh, great.
How fun will that be? So just tell me, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It's good to be back home after the reconvene session. And I'm
what are you eating there?
Bless you.
Oh, you're feeding Warren. God bless you,
I'm
Warren.
feeding Warren his yogurt. Bless you. Yep.
Okay, well, we're very excited to hear about.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to know, I'm just switching computers, so you'll see me pop on again, and I'm going to get off on this one.
Okay.
And I think Delegate Subramanian is on too.
Subramanian. Oh, good. Suhas, you want to pop up? It's always great to see Suhas. I mean, we talk about somebody that I just absolutely been supporting since day one. How are you?
Oh, good.
There we go.
There we go. Hey guys, how are you doing? Thanks. I wasn't letting me unmute, and I think I had the wrong name on my screen, but it's great to be with you guys and always, and so excited to be here with Kathy.
Yeah, me too. We've been waiting to have you on. So this is such a great program. It's just super exciting. And what's going on your way? You're not feeding any babies, but I know you have a few.
I've got 2 little girls. One just turned 2. The other one's going on 5 months, and they're a blast. And I'm so glad to be back from Richmond to spend time with them. And we're going out of town this weekend on a little trip, so it'll be fun to spend more time with them.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's always great. You're obviously making a lot of change, right? change is for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll wait. Irene, I'm sure will be popping in later. Irene Shen, a House delegate, will be here also. So we look forward to your segment. So hang in and just really have some fun with us. So great to see you. And always, when we talk about stepping up and making change, Clean Virginia is in the room. And as they have if you have their background on, there is no Planet B, right? We have Diana Williams with us, communications lead. Welcome, Diana. And Laura Gonzalez, energy policy manager. How are you, gals?
Hey, Catherine. How's it going?
You are fired up, truly.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I love it. It's good backgrounds. How's it going, Laura? What's going your way?
It's going great, Catherine. Thank you for having us here. We're going to be talking about an exciting opportunity for people to join a very important effort that we're going to talk about later. So yes. keep, everybody should keep tuned till the end.
Yeah, because when we talk about making change with our two hands, that includes emailing, phone calling, texting, and all that great stuff. So great to see you again, Laura and Diana. Awesome. So, like I said, we never disappoint. We have a great lineup today. And just some, as we say, taking care of business is that you please use the chat to communicate. There's a lot of stuff to share. We know they're talking about stepping up and making change. Our own House delegates had a big shakeup. I'm sure in the chat, you all want to talk about that. We'll be talking about that in the after chat, but please keep it. Any nastiness, you will get bumped. We do have the bouncer, Sarah Calhoun. She's a tough lady up there, and she will bounce you out. So just keep it real. And then please stick around for the after chat, because we do like to unmute and then get to it and talk about what's on your mind. Some of the guests may be able to stay also, and then you can ask them more in-depth questions. And if you're a newcomer, first time in the chat, this could be overwhelming. So Michelle McKinney's in the room, and you could direct message Michelle McKinney. Wave Michelle, you're up. She's up here. Just ask her any questions directly in the chat, and Michelle will take care of that. And lastly, as we stay for stepping up and making change, we've been doing that for the past, 6 years, but this show for almost 2 years. And Robin, I'm sure we're up to over 50 shows now. I can't keep track, but if you'd love to support us and step up, please become a patron. We have a subscription series just for a small donation of $5, $10, or $25 a month. You can help us make change. And this supports our team to do their work. I like to give them a big shout out. Robin Warner up in the box. She is the show wizard. Sarah Calhoun, ambassador of Buzz. Heidi Dragneff is our social media diva. And show messenger, Fennell Norton. And let's get at it, Fennell. I love to chitty chat with you. Let's do a little chat. Let's talk about, before we open the show, what is going on. So when you're thinking about stepping up and making change, there was a story the show was based on about the mule. Let's talk about that. I don't know if anybody,
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I think that this is just perfect, because it doesn't seem that a week passes that there's not so many things happening. There's always something going on. And this story I especially love with stepping up, because it is the story of the old mule. And I would love to hear what you think about it. But here's how it goes. There was an old mule that a farmer had. And the mule, don't ask me how, but he slipped into a well. And they just thought, geez, go to the townspeople. What on earth can we do to get this mule out? Well, they thought about it, and they couldn't come up with anything. So their only solution was to cover the mule and just bury it. And so they got to shoveling, and that mule is inside of there, and he's thinking, what in the world is going on? And this dirt is just falling on his back, And the old mule got to thinking, well, as this dirt is falling on his back, what if he just shook it off? And so the old mule, every time a big shovel full of dirt came on, he would just shake it off and he'd step up. And so they just kept on shoveling, and he kept shaking it off and stepping up. And you know what happened? Finally, he was at the top of the well, and he just walked out. So when you think about that, Catherine, what do you think about in terms of shaking it off and stepping up?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, it is just that persistence, resilience to just not, all the bad news sometimes we hear, all the pile on, you can let it sort of bury you, and just stay still and do nothing, or you can shake it off and step up. And I've been doing a lot of shaking lately, shaking things off.
I think that's exactly right. And so, we were having this conversation, and this is why I think it's so important. And this is just where I want to stay. I mean, I think in terms of 22, we're just all so worried with the news we hear every day. Someone says how something can't be done. And you know what we do with that news? We just shake that off. We come up with strategies. We come up with ideas. We come up with ways that say to us that we can shake it off and we can step up. And that's how we win. And so I think that's what this show is about this week, which is shaking it off and stepping up so that we can accomplish everything that we need to.
I mean, because the pylon could feel overwhelming. And I know in this room, I think that's how sometimes we feel every day. It's so easy when you just hear this stuff every day. But I truly think, and I'll go back to talk about even some stuff in the news real quick, because I want to get started, is when we heard like our House leadership having a shakeup and some change, it makes us feel like, okay, oh my gosh, another thing that we have to sort of deal with and worry about. And what did I say to you after we talked about it? I'm like,
we got to shake it off ourselves.
We got to shake it off. We got to keep our head down and keep working and ignore that shit and just go, okay, look, we just got to keep it going ourselves. And because we are the party of the people. And I guess this is what we will do. So just wanted to add that in. So thank you, Fennell. I'm so excited with your segment today with the caucus. And I want to get started with somebody who truly is been stepping up and making changed. Dr. Ali Kareem, sorry, just having one of those days. I can't wait to get started talking to you. And also let's bring up Weta too, Saber, and we can have a little round table. How are you guys doing? You both unmute. I want to make sure.
Doing well.
Okay,
Thank you, Catherine. Doing well. So excited to be here with everybody.
Yeah,
can't wait to tell you guys a little bit.
They're all excited. And with this journey for you, people, at first, I think it's good we start talking about Global Shout, how that got started, your genesis story. And I also, giving voice to the voiceless. What a great message. So why don't you tell the room about Global Shout? Tell them how you became the founder and the executive, about your journey.
Yeah, so Global Shout is almost 2 decades old at this point. And I formed Global Shout back in college when I was at Georgetown University a long time ago. And it was in response to traveling to India to do some volunteer work, working with some AIDS clinics, working with some orphanages, and seeing the inequity and the discrepancy in level of quality of life that existed around the world, and realizing that I had to do something about it. At that point, I was studying to become an archaeologist. And when I got back, I said, you know what, I got to do something a little bit more. So I transitioned, became a medical doctor, where I work currently at the Virginia Hospital Center as a hospitalist, and created Global Shout. So what we did over the next 20 years was perform a lot of international projects. We built mobile clinics in Nepal and Ecuador in response to earthquakes. We did a lot of medical and house visit work in Papua New Guinea and other Pacific islands. We built a hospital in Afghanistan, built a school for, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Chibok girls of Nigeria who had been kidnapped back in 2014. We went to Nigeria and built a school for them so they could get their high school degrees, and now we're trying to send them to college. We were reconnecting North Korean and South Korean families that had been separated many years ago. So we had a variety of projects, even the Rohingya of Myanmar, we were helping them in their camp. But when the Afghanistan crisis, the current one on our shores, hit back in August and September, I, being an Afghan American, actually decided to go on the flights to Germany and Qatar to bring them back as a doctor. So I served as a medical doctor on those rescue flights, and just seeing that, moment had an impact on me that I can't just do this medical work. I have to do something a little bit beyond, have to step up and help them in this marathon of a new life that they are now undergoing. That's kind of fading into our memory. You know, people aren't aware that 8 months later, they're still under a lot of stress and a lot of difficulties. So we have actually been helping them with a variety of different things. We're settling them into their homes. We're registering them for school. We're trying to get them into colleges. We're helping them with medical visits, with DMV visits, with whatever, you name it, whatever they have to do for life, that's what we're doing for them. And we're helping over 1,000 refugees now in the Northern Virginia area, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and 10 other states actually. And it's just growing because there's more and more people coming. So like you said earlier, just get up and do it, right? And that's exactly what we've been doing.
Can feel like a panel on it. And this is very personal for you both. Ollie, if I remember your story, your parents fled Afghanistan 40 years ago when the Russians invaded and came to America, and you were born here at the same hospital you work at, correct?
That's right. That's right. I was born at Virginia Hospital Center. It was called Arlington Hospital. And my parents left in 1979 when the Russians invaded. They were in Germany for 3 years, and a year later they were here, and that's when I came up. Yeah. So
well, let's talk to Wida, yourself a refugee, and your story. Tell us about your journey and how you're stepping up with the Girls School Food Assistance Project. It's just amazing that your background. Tell us about yourself, Wida.
Sure. Yeah, actually, my journey is began with a country that has been at war for 42 years. And it's about a country whose people have been taken hostage by terrorist group. More than half of Afghanistan population been restricted from education, and even they're not allowed to go to school and university, especially women. And now in my homeland, women are not allowed to go to school and university. And it's really painful for us. Actually, it's not a personal, it's not a so personal as an Afghan, but as a human being, yes, it's heartbroken. And it's injustice. And no one can close their eyes against this injustice. So they've been captive because of their gender. As a woman, over 3.2 million Afghan children are facing right now malnutrition. And according to WFP research, more than 97% of people in Afghanistan insecure in having the basic food. So, and also it's about the poverty. The poverty takes life of 100 people, more than hundreds people in Afghanistan every day, selling young girls, unfortunately, young children, girl and women, restriction on getting out of their home without their man or madam. Previously, Kandigul, a 10 years girl, being sold by $300 in south of Afghanistan. 7 years, Fatima, an Afghan girl, being sold by $2,000 in Kabul, in capital of Afghanistan, where the world community were investing more than $13 trillion since last 2 decades. So every day, there are business of selling Fatmas and Kandigals. And we have been forced, and parents have been forced to do this. In order to protect other kids to feed the food. Right. Because now we are facing in Afghanistan hunger crisis.
Yes.
I read your story. Yes, it's about we can always choose what difficulty. We cannot choose always what difficulty we will run into, but we can choose how we respond it. So yes, it is the way that we try to respond it. Now I'm going to talk about the Global Shout project, mine and Dr. Ali project, that it's about assisting 42 families in Afghanistan. I began with my journey on June 2022 after resettling in Northern Virginia, after receiving my first cash refugee assistance as a refugee, around $250, $250.
That's it, $250. Okay.
Yes, and I have fundraised to support family of Afghan woman teacher in Afghanistan and military force family member. They're often meeting with Dr. Ali Karim, the amazing guy and person. Ali Karim opened a bigger window on increase and continually support of those women which were unfortunately restricted to work and serve in Afghanistan. Since last 3 months, with Global Shout direct support and initiative, we can cover 42 families, and indirectly, we can cover more than 250 people in Afghanistan. With a circle of brave volunteer woman teacher in Afghanistan, and that the woman that they are not allowed to open the school, but they are still ready to work as a volunteer to distribute the food for the people. And we have them in Afghanistan with Global Shout right now. The next phase of this program, we already collected the food packages in Afghanistan by financial support of Global Shout, by fundraising of Kind, Human, and Here, and sent food for money and food for 3 months. But the next phase of this plan will be how we can support to these women to become self-sufficient, and support them to have the ability to become self-sufficient. Lots of these women are having lots of skills, like tailoring skills, leading chicken farms, or producing good handicrafts, even simple house food, making homemade food, and with very less financial aid. We can help them to become self-sufficient with only $600 per family. So it means 2 bread in 1 stone.
Right.
As soon as possible, with any possible access and available opportunity, we at Global Shout have the ability to continue and expand the project. However, to support would be vital and valuable in order to make this a long-term successful project. Anyway, my mom says by educated a woman, if we are able to make a self-sufficient a woman, or be a self-sufficient a woman, we can change 5 generations.
Yes.
But if we have an educated man or self-sufficient man, we can change 1 generation. If we compare this, it means a lot.
Yes.
And we can bring more changes. So I'm looking forward to the team support to make this project successful by donating any amount. I just want to remind that, remember, $1. By $1, we can support 1 family, 1 time a meal in Afghanistan. So it's a huge thing.
You're so right. I mean,
it's so.
As a women rights activist, you just hit it on the head. When women are educated, when you look at countries, when women have that freedom to be educated and make their decisions, the families are better, healthier. It's the society is healthy. So Wida, what you're doing is so important. And your story is so, it's heartbreaking too, that your country, this 42 years, we've had other guests on to make sure that we don't forget Afghanistan and we keep it in the forefront of people's minds, because the world gets busy, Ukraine's happening, different crises, but we cannot forget Afghanistan. And I think it's really our duty to stay there and help. And if you help women, you will definitely help their family and society. So thank you. And I want to ask Dr. Ali about Global Shout, and both of you can chime in, but in the sense of the scope of this, I mean, it sounds like the whole country, it's just so huge, but you're making obviously impact where you can. How difficult is it to get into the country? Are you with an NGO? Like, how does that work? How do you find these families? And are you able to negotiate with the Taliban about this kind of work? How does that work?
So in regards to Wida's project, this is personal for her because her mother is involved with a lot of those families there. So, it's really hard to remotely assist in these countries, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Afghanistan, Rohingyas, wherever we've been before, because you don't know where that money's going, right? But in this case, we have a personal connection, so we know that these are families that we're aware of. So that's why it's
Wida, this is your family we're talking about that you're communicating with. Sorry to break in, but that is really amazing. So you were really being here and then actually working with your family there.
Yes, actually, I already mentioned it's about a circle of brave women in Afghanistan. Seem like us with same mentality and ideology that they want to fight for women's rights.
Right.
Like my mom used to be work for Afghan girl. She used to be as a Afghan girl school principal in Afghanistan, and now the teacher in Afghanistan try to monitor and search about the a family that have a capability of this kind of work to be self-sufficient, and as well find a family who really need this food necessary or food packages as a necessary item.
That makes sense. I mean, that is so personal. Ali.
If I can just add two things, I know there's other guests. This project's incredibly dangerous, actually, just so you guys are aware of this, because these women, including Wida's mom, are going around finding these families, getting them this funding to support them, and now trying to make them autonomous and independent and self-sufficient under this umbrella of the Taliban watching everything and hunting people down and not allowing any of these things to happen and restricting women from freedoms. This is actually super dangerous, what we're trying to do and what they're doing out there. Those women really deserve all the praise. So please, the links have been posted over there on the side. Please consider donating to this project. You can donate through the main globalshout.org/donate link, and it's going to go to that project. You can specify. And also, if anybody wants to learn more about what we do and come be a part of it and whatnot, we have a Eid al-Fitr celebration on Sunday. It's probably the last day of Ramadan, so we may be serving iftar and then celebrating Eid at night, but it'll be from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Farmstead Booth Park in Alexandria, Virginia, near a lot of where the refugees live. And I'll post the link, or I guess it's posted already. Okay.
Definitely. I'd like to ask a quick question. I know we went a little over, and that's okay. I just want to make sure that the audience hears the part about the resettlement. You're in Arlington, Northern Virginia, and you're helping the Afghan refugees here. And we can put all the links on how people can help and donate, get involved. I know groups are already helping with clothes, and they may be actually working with your group. Tell us just briefly about that part of it, because it's really important piece where people here can locally help you.
I mean, like I said, we're working with over 1,000 refugees right now. We're literally, for the past 8 months, I've been going after my hospital work till midnight every single day, like settling these families, going to their homes. People can come volunteer. You can come, whatever, lift furniture with us. You can come do job applications. You can come do resumes. You can come do whatever. Take them to the DMV. Take them to the doctor. There's so many opportunities. There's so many people, and we need help.
Yes.
This is not ending anytime soon.
Yeah, with more refugees coming, I think, and you're going to Ukraine to help further there. And one thing about the helping in the hands, and what I hear what you're always doing, as it's just not one-off group. You're really trying to, with many hands, help many people. And when people come here, and specifically refugees, this is definitely a huge crisis. It's not going to stop, Humans
are humans. We all deserve
humans are humans, right? Yes, exactly. So I wanted to thank you, and I hope we could meet. I hope I would love to meet you in person. That would be awesome for us. Just be such an honor to work with you and get to know you better. And thank you, Dr. Ali. Yes, thank you for being here.
Same here. It's really great honor for us. Thank you so much.
No, really, we should all feel just indebted to all the work that you're doing. So thank you, and safe travels in Ukraine. We will have you in our prayers, and also please, everybody in the room, if you can donate, or I know people love to get into action and use their hands to make change, and let's get to it. You're in the right room for that. So thank you so much for being here. And I'd like to just start, I'm sure that the delegates that are in the room, and we had talked about this with Global Shout, are listening as well. So if there's delegates in the room from the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus, this would be great also to meet with them and see how we can help. Also, I know this is on your mind. So Suhas, Delegate Suhas, go ahead for now. I will pitch it over to you and this wonderful caucus. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, Delegate Suhas. It's so nice to meet you. Hi, Delegate Tran. Nice to see you here. Guys, I'm so excited to have this conversation today. But before I start my questions, is there anything that you wanted to add from the last segment that you just saw?
It was just so powerful. Thank you guys for having that. That was great. And we're here to help. Anything we can do, we want to be a part of it and want to help you. So thank you for presenting, and thank you for being here.
Wonderful.
To add also, Finale, because so many Asian American and Pacific Islanders have come to America and to Virginia as refugees, similar to my own family, or as immigrants like Suhas's, we've kind of taken it upon ourselves so sorry, he but we've taken it upon ourselves in our caucus to really lift up refugees from everywhere in the world. And so we actually put in a budget request for $8 million, working with then Governor Northam and his team. That budget request is currently in the Senate budget proposal. We hope that it stays, and that money part of it would go towards helping to strengthen Virginia's refugee resettlement system, which has been decimated under the previous federal administration. So we're really excited about that. It was really wonderful to hear about Global Shout and WIDA's efforts.
Wonderful. So guys, here's what I'd like to talk about. This caucus is relatively new. And so I'm sure that you had a vision when you thought about developing this caucus. So can you talk to us a little bit about that so that we can all get a little more educated on why this was so important and why at this moment it was so important?
Yeah, I'll start, and Kathy, you can fill the gaps that I forget, which I will forget some. But essentially, we this came about a couple ways. And first, we never had enough Asian Americans in the General Assembly to even have a caucus in the first place. Certainly not, before Kathy was elected, I think it was just Mark Keene. And so, he always called himself a caucus of one, maybe two at times. And we kind of joked about being his own caucus. And then we had, thanks to you all, we made history again and again and again and again in 2017, 2019, and even 2021. And, people like Delegate Tran and myself were the first from our communities to ever get elected. And so, when you start to get 4 or 5 people, it starts becoming a little bit of a caucus. But we thought about it in the back of our heads, but we never organized until we started seeing, a kind of a national issue with, violence against Asian American people. There's always been some, for me, I was a teenager, during 9/11, and after that, seeing all brown communities being targeted after that. And a similar thing happened, with certain Asian American communities after, COVID-19 pandemic began happening, and there was blame for, many Asian Americans and a lot of ill will. And then there was some violence, like in Georgia, towards Asian Americans. And so, we started realizing, and I heard from a couple of constituents as well, just, really terrible stories of, really hateful words and actions taken towards them as Asian Americans. And so we decided, to get together and talk about these things. And through that conversation, it started to make sense to form a caucus that had an agenda. And we thankfully had the leadership of Delegate Markeem, who's our first leader of this caucus. He knew how to kind of spring us into action and form the caucus and create the bylaws. And we just, the first thing we wanted to do basically was just listen to the various communities. Asian is like half the world, right? You've got everyone from China and Japan and Southeast Asia to South Asia. My family's from India, Pakistan. So that's a very large group of people. But I do think there's a shared experience of Asian Americans and things that we've faced over the years, whether it's implicit bias in certain fields, whether it's sort of expectations, good and bad, and we've had similar experiences, and we felt like we needed a forum to allow people, Asian Americans in Virginia, to give us some of that feedback. And we had listening sessions and town halls, and that has just led to us realizing we needed to create a legislative agenda. And so that's what we did. And maybe Delegate Tran can talk a little more about that agenda, and we can go into that. But I think it's been really successful so far. I certainly feel like, we've started hitting our stride a little bit in this past session, even though we were in a Republican majority who, I thought, some of our issues might be bipartisan, started pushing back at some of our agendas, surprisingly. But I think, we definitely have a strong future ahead of us. And we're hoping to encourage more people in our communities to step up and be a part of some of the change we want to see, and be more political too. I've got my own story of how my parents never wanted me to be political, and it was not seen as a good thing to do it in my community. But now I'm seeing more Asian American candidates step up and run, and I'm so happy to see that. And so I don't know, Delegate Tran, if you want to add and maybe talk a little bit about a legislative agenda too.
Yeah, and just to set a baseline before Delegate Tran goes, when Markeem was elected in 2009, I think he was the first Asian American to be elected in the entire state of Virginia. So what you guys have done and how far you've come is pretty significant. Delegate Tran.
Thank you so much for remarking on that, because I think Delegate Keem really he's like our OG, right? Like, he's really paved the way and been such an incredible mentor to so many of us and activists across Virginia. I think the other piece, I think Delegate Subramaniam really captured the context for why we came together. And I think at the heart of our work is to build the political power for AAPIs in Virginia. We are the fastest growing ethnic minority group in the country and in Virginia. And Fairfax County, which I represent parts of, is the largest community of Asian Americans outside of, within a county outside of California and New York. So if you just think about kind of our shared numbers and our growth, we're a pretty significant population right now. And I think for so long, many elected officials didn't really consider AAPI communities and the voters and our needs, because they felt like we were not participating in the political process. And so having a caucus and having an organized, coordinated presence in the halls of power in Virginia, I think is really important to say, hey, this community deserves a space at the table, a seat at the table, and we really need you to be paying attention to the issues that affect us. And at the same time, it's really important to all of us to be good allies to others and making sure that we continue that drumbeat of we all rise. We only rise when every single one of us rises, right? And that we need to be good allies to the Black community, to the Latinx community, to LGBTQ community, to the Indigenous community, to women and such. And so that's the other part of our work, is making sure we're not just lifting up what's important and essential to AAPIs, but also looking around and how can we be better allies. This year, and based on those listening sessions that Delegate Subramaniam mentioned, we focused on a couple of issues. One of our primary issues was around language access. And I think that was really put under a spotlight under COVID, where we have such uneven policies across Virginia state government. Translation was, super wacky, inaccurate, sometimes dangerously inaccurate, to like completely inaccessible. And so the levels of government services and support that people needed, and not just in the AAPI community, but all limited English proficient Virginians needed, was not being met during COVID. And so we really tried to push for better language access and language justice. And I just want to put a point on that. And we worked closely also with the disability community and disability advocates, because language access is both, is also affects people with disabilities as well. And so trying to build that coalition there. We also worked on trying to better understand the roots of hate crimes and violence against AAPIs, and how do we prevent discrimination based on, religious clothing and outwards showing of faith. So that was also another priority. And then we also focused on small businesses, knowing that so many entrepreneurs and small business owners are immigrants, and within that are in the AAPI community. We wanted to make sure that we have access to procurement opportunities with the state government, that we're protecting the interests of small business owners. So those were some of our three key priorities that come to mind. Delegate Subramaniam, am I missing anything?
So that's fantastic. So we're almost out of time. So I have one final question, if we could do it in 60 seconds, because this is really important for us too. We want to know how to help. So when it comes to outreach, especially as we look at these elections, these midterms, talk to us a little bit about how we should be reaching out to the AAPI community.
Yeah, absolutely. First, we've got a website now, vaapic.org. Please check it out. And we're on Twitter at VAAPI Caucus. So you can, I know so it's 2 A's, 3 A's, no, 2 A's, yeah, VAAPIC. So that's our acronym, and it's easy to find us online. Follow our stuff. We're going to be at events all across the state. We're trying to lift up Asian American communities. I think when you think about, so our caucus is not partisan, but I'm very partisan. And when you think about what's happened over the past couple of years, I know the other side for me has been trying to really target the AAPI community and divide us from other communities of color, like Black and Latinx communities. And so, I've been making a concerted effort not to let that happen, and to, kind of remind, my community that, it's Democrats who got us here. Democrats are going to keep us here and keep us safe and look out for our interests. And I think as we look at, elections coming up, we should not forget about this community. And I would encourage all of you to tell your elected officials, and especially your candidates, like ones running for Congress, to go to these AAPI events. One of the good things about AAPI communities is, we generally congregate in very large masses, whether it's religious holidays, like we have Eid coming up, or in October, Diwali. encourage your elected officials, because I'm always there. I know Delegate Tran's always there, but encourage our candidates and elected officials to come to these events, because it's a great way, and really FaceTime goes a really long way with our communities because it shows that you care. So that I would really suggest that, and of course, follow us on social media.
That is fantastic. Delegate Tran, any final thoughts?
I would add misinformation plagues our communities across communities within the API larger community as similar to other immigrant communities, right? And so having those conversations neighbor to neighbor, I think is really important, and breaking through that, I think is going to be really key. And I think, we've seen how destructive misinformation can be. And so we want to make sure that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in Virginia understand what Democrats are doing and how we are really focused on working families, on supporting immigrants, and building kind of better lives for everybody.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I think what I'm going to walk away with here is your information for your Twitter and your Facebook. They're all on, we have it all in the chat. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that we attend events, and there's large gathering, face-to-face. You can't do better than that. So I'm going to turn it back over to Catherine.
Hey, yeah, thank you guys for being here. So great. And I want to say that I sent already an email to Jennifer Wexton's campaign and some other people. We had one of our activists out in Rappahannock at a big event where Republicans were gathering with over 100 people talking about these communities. They already have a strategy. They're already there. And I just say, we really need to get busy. They are already getting busy. So set the alarm out. We need to make sure that our voices in the room. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for everything you do. I know you still have a lot of work ahead of you. We need to get that budget going. And unfortunately, Governor Youngkin, first time in 400 years, let me say it again, hasn't passed the budget. Let's just say it. Okay, thank you. Okay, for now, we're shaking it off. And
I was going to say we're going to shake it off. We have to shake it off.
I'm ready. You know me, I'm ready to fight though right now. I'm just I'm fired up.
You're fired up, but I'm ready to shake it off because they gave us such good information. So attend events, get on their Facebook, get on their Twitter, find out what's going on, and be there. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. All right. Speaking about stepping up, let's talk about making change. Let's talk about climate change. We have Clean Virginia in the room, and we're talking about cleaning it up. We have to clean up the corruption around this kind of politics that kind of hold back making change that we'd like to see. So we have with us Diana Williams, communication lead, and Laura Gonzalez, energy policy. Hi, Ollie. Good to see you again, popping in. It's always good to say hi. So let's bring up Diana. It's so important the work you do. And so I'm going to kick it off with Diana because it's always great to first talk about communications. Let's talk let the room know about Clean Virginia, your mission, a little bit more of the kind of the nuts and bolts of the organization. Then we'll talk to Laura about the policy and some of the stuff you're working on.
Sure. Thanks, Catherine, and thanks for having us. I actually am very excited to follow Delegates Tran and Subramaniam because a lot of their work closely aligns with Clean Virginia's mission. So, for example, if you are among the 2/3 of Virginians who have Dominion Energy, and you're getting a refund, Delegate Subramaniam's work really led to that. And huge thanks go out to him. There's over $300 million in refunds coming to Dominion Energy Virginia customers. And also based on the 2020 Consumer Protection Law that he helped to shepherd through, there's another $50 million in future rates that will be cut. Which is huge. And also for Delegate Tran has really contributed to the clean governance portion of our mission by, for example, working to prohibit working to prohibit the utilities from keeping customer overcharges, which aligns again with, keeping bills affordable and accessible, which is something that we want. So definitely thanks to Delegate Tran. While we don't always get the outcome that we're looking for, like, for example, I know Delegate Shin wasn't able to be here, but she was really instrumental in helping to move forward a bill prohibiting utility disconnections during extreme weather events. And I live in Waynesboro, and you don't know, a tornado touched down in Waynesboro on Tuesday and left hail and huge damage. And that's not normal for April. And that's been part due to climate change. And so we really need to be protected from these things. These delegates have been great champions for consumer protections, for clean energy and good governance. So thanks again. I'm so happy to have you guys here in the room so that I can thank you, and hope that you guys will reach out to them, especially when they're trying to move these things forward, and give them encouragement. Clean Virginia, our main goal is to get utility money out of politics so that we can have the energy system that prioritizes people, gives us affordability, prioritizes the environment over profits. And so we have like really big, lofty goals. We want to ease the energy burden. We want to, again, we want to make renewables, like clean renewables, affordable and accessible for everyone. And in order to do that, we have to be able to properly regulate our utility monopolies. So just out of curiosity, there's a lot of you guys here, but just a raise of hands, how many people have Dominion Energy? Okay. So yeah, that's a significant portion of the state. And to have captive customers and we not be able to properly set rates is an issue. And so thanks to some of the delegates that we have here and other delegates and senators, they have been really helping to move us forward with the good governance portion of it. Dominion is one of the biggest contributors to political campaigns in the state, which means they have an outsized influence over our legislature. So that's something that we're all working towards. And that's a huge part of Clean Virginia's mission. So one of the things that I want to highlight is that this is really a movement. You know, this is not something that we feel like we can do for by ourselves. It's going to take all of us to move us forward on this. And so one of the things that I'd like to encourage you to do is to visit our website, sign up on the Take Action, and we will send you out alerts giving you opportunities, telling you when there are opportunities for you to have your voice heard. And that's where Laura is going to come in today, because one of the things that we're working on is a campaign to get comments sent to the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, for a new proposal that they put forward in March. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura and let her take over.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Diana. Catherine, yes?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear about the next phase of some of the action and what you're working on now. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a specific campaign that we are promoting. As Diana mentioned, we are inviting everybody to sign our letter in support of a crucial set of rules proposed by the Securities Exchange Commission that would increase transparency around the climate change risks that companies face and the greenhouse gas emissions that corporations are emitting to the atmosphere. So I would like to give you a piece of context, like this is boring context, but important context. The Securities Exchange Commission was created after the Wall Street crash back in 1929 to prevent market manipulation. So this commission is already requesting detailed information to prevent companies from defrauding the public. So why these rules are very important? These rules will help us understand how deep climate change can affect the economy and push the corporate world to prioritize climate change mitigations. Because corporations can be blind to how climate change will affect the economy, and the goal of these rules is to prevent companies from hiding these risks and defrauding the public. So we want a more transparent system. So I'm going to give you some examples of what this rule will do. For example, these rules will require companies to disclose annual greenhouse gas emissions, including emissions from contractors and third-party suppliers. These rules will also request companies to explain how legal and regulatory risks associated with greenhouse gas emissions and the use of fossil fuels could affect their income. Finally, these rules also ask companies to present a clear plan for climate-related targets. For example, when companies like Cliff, BP, or Novartis pledge that they will be emitting zero carbon by a specific date, they will have to disclose what is their baseline, what is their plan to achieve this target, and what is their progress. So the idea is to make these pledges from companies traceable and real. Currently, this reporting is voluntary, and it is different for every company. And this different reporting makes this information sometimes useless because it's very difficult to compare the practices across companies. So these rules will be crucial for the US corporate world to open their eyes to the risks associated with climate change from an economic perspective. Mm-hmm. I want to remind everybody that the most recent report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has again been very clear, explaining how our economic machine fueled by fossil fuels is the main cause of global warming, and the economic damages from climate change are clear in sectors like agriculture, forestry, fishery, energy, and tourism. So climate change is already having serious environmental and human impacts, right? So for example, extreme weather extremes are increasingly driving displacement in all regions, with the small islands and coastal communities disproportionately affected. Here in Virginia, we normally have 10 or so days of extreme heat days of 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And with the current global warming trend, we're going to see these extreme heat days rising to 41 in 2030 and 61 in 2050. These extreme heat waves are stressing food and water systems in Virginia and around the world. In countries already impacted by war like Afghanistan, more severe droughts have affected more than 60% of the country's land, which makes it more difficult for farmers to grow food and access water, which increases the current crisis in that country. So really, these rules will make corporation practices and corporations' greenhouse gas emissions more transparent, and will help us understand the climate risks from an economic perspective. It will prevent companies from hiding these risks, and will help the public, regulators, and investors request companies to implement more sustainable practice. So with that, I'm gonna stop there, and please.
No, it's not boring at all, by the way. I think it's a lot of good content, and what I am understanding too, there's a lot of support by companies and even the public for this movement. And I just saw a Twitter post. I think it was Andrea. I want to say Andrea McClellan, that ran for lieutenant governor, saying that sunrise service couldn't be held because it was underwater and flooded down in Norfolk area. This stuff is real. It's impacting our daily lives. So Clean Virginia is just doing the work, and talk about, we all know this is a problem. So having this kind of rulemaking will really be important. So thank you both. And so we're almost ready to close out the show. I want to thank everybody for being here today, especially our wonderful guests. Yeah, I really loved talking to her the other day. She is a sparkle, just a sparkle. It made me happy. We had such a great talk. Next week, we'll do a spotlight on her and her candidacy. So that will be awesome. Thank everybody for being here today, especially our wonderful guests. And hopefully maybe Dr. Ali can stay around, and some of the other guests to talk in the after chat. So I want to also thank you to our Zoom helpers today. Shamira Brown's in the room, Laura Martinez, and also Michelle McKinney for helping those new people in the chat. And also thank you to the wonderful, awesome Julie Galdo and Sally Reinhold for always keeping us real in our emails and language. There are content concierge. And stay for the after chat. We're so glad you're always in the room. We love you all, and stick around, and let's roll credits, Robin.